Great. I was going to get some entertainment and allow folks to join us in. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nika Chapu, and I'm honored to be your moderator today. It's wonderful to see everyone here today. We have a very informative session ahead of us. I'd like to start with a few housekeeping notes. Please mute your microphones and feel free to send your questions via the chat function. We will have a dedicated question and answer session at the end of the presentation where you can ask our speakers the questions that you have on the Welcome Corps. We're gathering today to discuss the vital role that the African diaspora can play in supporting African refugees coming into the United States. I'm thrilled to moderate this webinar on behalf of the African Public Affairs Committee, and I want to extend a special thank you to all our speakers today. We're fortunate to have representatives from the African diaspora refugee community who will highlight the importance of our collective support during this critical time. We have Basma Alawi from Community Sponsorship Hub. We have Ali Ntumba from Patchwork Indie. We have Vivian Virtual from Africa to You. We have Natalie Huber from NSC White House. And we also have Jen Carter from US Department of State. And I will be moderating this session and we'll be discussing about the WelcomeCorps. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining. Additionally, we will provide insights into the program. As you guys know, there are about 45,000 refugees, including those from the Democratic Republic of Congo that have been fully vetted and approved to come to the United States and are waiting for people like us to step up and help them in their journey to the United States. In response to all of these needs, the Biden-Harris administration launched this program, the WelcomeCorps, to empower all Americans from all walks of life to help and support these refugees. Through this program, groups of 5 or more Americans or permanent residents, also green card holders, are eligible to support. Can join forces together and sponsor a refugee family during the first few months here in the United States. Notably, this program is going to continue up until August 31st, and there's no financial requirement to sponsor a family if that you do not already know. So without further ado, we have an excellent panel lined up today, and I'll give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. And starting with Vivian, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Neka, for putting this together and for everyone on this panel. My name is Vivian Kopsinje-Birchall, an immigrant from Uganda. So I have a little bit of some experience when it comes to moving across borders. And I'm excited to be here to put on my heart as a producer and a host, sharing stories about Africa diaspora and the US-Africa relations and integrating this with the refugee resettlement program. I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you. And if we can popcorn it to Jennifer, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jen Carter, and I'm a program officer for the WelcomeCorps at the U.S. Department of State. Thanks so much, Nika, for having us. I'm super excited to share more about the program and hear your questions and hear from our awesome other panelists. I will popcorn to Basma.
Thank you, Jen. And Nika, thank you for organizing such a beautiful webinar with the great communities. My name is Basma Alawi, and I am similar to Vivian, a former refugee actually from Iraq, arrived to the US back in 2010, have witnessed the American generosity and welcoming work, and myself have been really inspired to be a welcomer as well. I am with Community Sponsorship Hub as the Deputy Executive Director and working closely on the WelcomeCorps with Jen Carter, an amazing consortium on the mobilization and communication for the program. I am based in Jacksonville, Florida, and I will pass it to Ali.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Ali Ntumba. I'm originally from Congo. As Bassam came here about 10 years ago. I'm refugee from DRC. I'm serving here at Patchwork Indy as Director of Strategic Partnership, also delegate of Refugee Congress here in Indiana since 2020, and one of the UN experts in the world. There is 70 actually, and I'm the one representing the USA. So glad to be on this panel today. Thank you. Pass it to Madeleine.
Hi, good morning. Happy to be with you this morning. My name is Madeline Smith-Humer. I am working at the National Security Council at the White House, focused on refugee admissions. And I will pass it over last to Dauda.
Yeah, thank you, Madeline. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dauda Sise, and I'm here today not only as an advocate, but as someone who has lived through the experience of a refugee. Yeah, years ago, I fled war back in Sierra Leone, a war that took away my loved one and family members. And I also spent a decade in a refugee camp and wondering if I will ever feel safe or have a home again. That journey has filled with uncertainty, but today it has shaped me the person I am today, which I co-founded the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants, where we have helped thousands of refugees build their new lives. And also, I have the pleasure to work with African communities together and leading the national network of African leaders and African institutions, where we develop other leaders to create a community where everyone feels welcome. So you can tell by my introduction how Welcome Corps means so much to me, because it feels like coming full circle. Now, our former refugees are helping other refugees as well now to resettled. So thank you all, NECA, for this live saving event, because we're talking about a program that is life saving. So I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. And now we'll have Jennifer to give us a program overview about the Welcome program, WelcomeCorps.
Great, thanks again, Nika. Oh gosh, I have chills. Thanks, Dauda. It's always such an honor to be on a panel with such amazing speakers. And I'm so thrilled to be here today with all of you to talk about the WelcomeCorps. As Basma said, the program was inspired by America's longstanding history as a beacon of refuge for persecuted people and the spirit of generosity of the American public. It's part of the US government's official US refugee admissions program, which has been around for about 40 years. I think many of you are familiar with it. But the WelcomeCorps is a bold innovation that allows everyday Americans to formally participate directly in refugee resettlement for the first time. We know that groups of diaspora communities and faith communities have been doing this welcoming work for a long time. So we just wanted to make it a little bit easier for you and create a formal program. As Nika told you, very simply, the program works like this. Groups of 5 or more Americans or green card holders sign up to sponsor a refugee or refugee family. That means they are providing practical support and a sense of belonging for that refugee or refugee family for their first 3 months here in the United States. Sponsors do the same kinds of tasks that our traditional resettlement agency partners or new neighbors have done historically: meet refugees at the airport, help identify initial safe and affordable housing for them, and assist the refugees as they learn English, access benefits, get their children enrolled in school, sign up for healthcare, find a new grocery store, and more. Sponsors can sign up to match with any refugee, a true stranger, or tell us a little bit about who they might be best placed to assist, identifying a specific nationality, spoken language, or a family size they're interested in sponsoring. So if you have it in your heart to sponsor someone else from the African continent or someone from DRC, we can make that happen for you. The WelcomeCorps is a key tool in our strategy to expand this country's domestic capacity to receive refugees. Tapping into the volunteerism of private citizens helps us extend that support to greater numbers of refugees who need protection, and in locations where resettlement agencies either don't have the resources currently to resettle refugees, or maybe they don't have an existing presence. So the program is quite new. It launched last January, so we're about 1.5 years old, but we're already expanding and growing. Today in this call, we're going to focus on sponsors matching with refugees who are strangers to them. But so many of you probably know, you can also identify specific refugees that sponsors would like to support and refer them into the U.S. resettlement program. And we also have two sister programs, the WelcomeCorps on campus and the WelcomeCorps at work, for refugee students to pursue higher education in the United States, and for skilled refugees to be matched with employers in industries like healthcare, hospitality, and technology. You can learn all about those programs on our website, WelcomeCorps, WelcomeCorps.org. If you're interested, or we can talk about them in the questions and answers. We believe that the WelcomeCorps not only serves refugees well, but helps us better integrate them into American society and helps Americans understand why welcoming refugees is a critical part of our foreign policy. Welcoming newcomers and helping others is part of the American DNA. We see this in faith communities, schools, hospitals, and so many other contexts. And that is the spirit of American culture we're building upon with the WelcomeCorps. But we need your help to do it. Before I wrap up and hand over to Basma, I just want to highlight one thing you heard. The program is ongoing, the WelcomeCorps is ongoing, and we will continue to accept applications, not just until August 31st. But normally, sponsors are responsible for raising funds or finding in-kind donations to help support the refugees in their new lives. But right now, until August 31st, which is next week already, the fundraising is not necessary because generous private donors have created a fund to cover those costs. So until August 31st, any group that signs up to participate in the WelcomeCorps and be matched with a stranger, matched with refugees they don't know, can receive a grant to cover the cost of sponsoring that refugee. So this fund really supports bringing those at the front of the line who have already been screened and vetted and are ready to come to the United States, if only they had a sponsor. Please consider how you or someone you know might be able to support the WelcomeCorps, either by signing up to be a sponsor yourself or sharing information about the program with people you think might be interested. One of the amazing parts of the WelcomeCorps is that anyone can do this work. We designed the program to provide sponsors with all the tools and support they'll need, even if they've never done anything like this before. So now I'll turn it over to Basma, who can share some information about how the WelcomeCorps supports sponsors through the whole process, from application, to arrival and beyond. Thanks so much for having me. Basma, over to you.
Thank you, Jen. And I think I just want to uplift something that I just need to uplift. Both Dawuda and Ali is close friend, brothers, and I have been working with and known for the past decade. And I think it's really interesting starting with my talking points, and that's why I am uplifting this, that through the WelcomeCorps, everyone can find a role to play in this work. And I remember in my first one-on-one with Ali on a bus, last year, we talked about how Ali wanted to find himself or his community a role within WelcomeCorps. So he went back to Indiana and his organization became a private sponsor organization. So we could talk more about how that's happened. And Dawuda is becoming an ambassador and a mobilizer for the program itself. So I want to uplift that you can be a sponsor yourself as an individual. You can become, if you're part of an organization, you can become a private sponsor organization, or you can really mobilize about the program like what Nika is doing since last week. So really want to emphasize that everyone can play a role in uplifting and taking part of the WelcomeCorps. So going back to Jen's point on what's for the sponsor. So if you are today deciding that I am actually interested in welcoming refugees that I don't know through the WelcomeCorps program, one, we can take you and share with you a coaching session where you can really sit with a coach who can really help you build in your application and answer any question about your application. So before you submit any application, if you have any question about it, we can sit and have an info session with you with a one-on-one coach that can help you walk you through your application so you are not in it alone. If you are trying to put a welcome plan with your group of 4, because we want a group of 5 individuals at least to really submit your application. We have resources available for you in our state resources that is done by one of our consortium partner that help you really navigate your state resources to make sure you have all what you need ahead of submitting your application in your city. And then let's say you have submitted your application, you are already contacted by our organization to let you know that actually you being matched with a refugee. Right away, we will connect you and match you with a private sponsor organization who will actually not leave you alone and support you through your journey from beginning all the way to the end of 90 days. Of supporting you, mentoring your group to make sure you are equipped and ready to support your refugee family that you are welcoming. And in the end of the 90 days, you will go through an evaluation to make sure that you are successfully delivering on your commitment to welcome the refugees. And after that, you are ready actually to welcome again. So after you finish your commitment with the refugee family you are welcoming, you will be able to welcome again. I think I forgot some things in the line. As Jen mentioned, if for you to become sponsor, we know it comes with big commitment, but also we have been working with private sectors and donors to make this really less of a barrier for you. So between now and August 31st, you don't need to fundraise because we got this covered. We will be able to cover your expense for sponsorship, sponsoring someone you don't know. And also we are working with Airbnb to provide housing credit for the first month to make sure you are not struggling to find a first housing solution for the family. So it's temporary housing credit for the first month until you find the best home for the family you are trying to work with in that journey. So that's all being said, we know sponsorship come with a great commitment, but we have been able to work to eliminate some of the barriers to make sure you are doing this successfully and you are helping the family being welcomed and integrate before you do it again. And I'm saying you do it again because we have seen many sponsors already finish their 90 days and ready to do this again because they have seen the impact on their communities and back forward, and they really want to continue this journey over and over. So I think, Jen, feel free if I left anything to chime in, but I want to give it to Neka back in case if you have any questions later to be covering.
Thank you. I think I will. Neka, is it my turn? Our turn? All right. So we would like to invite Daouda and Ali to share their experience. But before they do that, I just wanted to say something. A few of us have immigrated to the United States in one way or the other. I came not as a refugee, but some of the experiences as a first generation immigrant with absolutely no family in the United States when I moved here kind of give an insight into some of the challenges that, the challenges that refugees will face when they come to the United States. That is, first of all, understanding the culture, navigating the healthcare system, understanding even the language. When we speak English in, say, Uganda, when we come here, it's a different kind of English, even though it's the same language, it's the nuances and everything. So as the first few days are critical, the first month is critical in, helping the refugees navigate they might seem tiny, but they contribute significantly to their integration into our communities. And as we're worried about, sometimes the community is worried about where these people are coming from. Are they coming with diseases? Are they coming with this? And someone who looks at this with a healthcare perspective, one thing I want to point out is that part of our screening process when we were moving to the United States was really intense. I had never been screened that thoroughly in my entire life. First of all, we had to take different shots. They had to check our lungs, everything, So I want to use this opportunity to say that to encourage those who might think about, the health implications of receiving a refugee, especially in light of whatever the mpox that is out there. is that the American government really screens anybody who comes into the United States very thoroughly, that I think we are the safest people upon entry into the community. But with that said, I'd like to invite Ali and Dauda, who first of all, who came in as refugees, to share some of their experiences coming into the country, and how they're going to share that experience, to how they're using that experience to help resettle refugees, and what we can learn from that. I will start with Dauda. I think you're muted.
Okay, trying to unmute. Challenging. Thank you, Vivian, and thank you also to walk through. Yes, Basma is right, and we've known her for a decade. She's a sister, a friend, in this space, and then her as well being part of this welcome, the community sponsorship hub, and in this welcome is just a testament to see that how refugees and former refugees and how we are contributing, and then how refugee inclusion is a key element to help develop the program that impact refugees as well. And so that's a good testament, seeing that representation in that space. And then seeing as well, like me, brief experience, 10 years, and it's not a day or decade, over 10 years in a refugee camp. And I didn't just go in a refugee camp, but it's after fleeing due to war in my home country. And when someone flees, knows that they leave everything behind. The place they used to call home is no longer home again. And those years were filled with uncertainty, with a deep pain of losing someone's. And in that camp, you're waiting for a chance to rebuild your life as well. So what I'm saying is that I mean I know firsthand what it means to hope for a future, and what it means as well when you feel as if you've forgotten. I was one of those fortunate ones that, I mean, countless others are there as well in the camp, but I was one of those fortunate to start all over again. So while here in the US, I carry their stories with me every day. And that's why I am in this field as the founder of the Louisiana Organization for Refugees and Immigrants, and then working at African Communities Together, where we're trying to bring Africans together. And most importantly, it gave me that national space as well with Refugee Congress, a national platform that brings refugee individual, forcibly displaced people, and where they advocate for issues impacting them. So that is why in those space I'm mobilizing and bringing together hundreds of immigrants and refugees, and then also local residents, and how they can be part of this initiative, how they can be part to give back, to give a better life to those individuals that are struggling. Because this program represents hope, the kind of hope that I clung to during those 10 years in the camp. So through this WelcomeCorps, community member can help refugees find a place to call home, where they can rebuild their lives with dignity and a sense of belonging. So today, I'm just standing here as you see those refugees back home see me through their lens, that I'm here today to talk about it, but they are not here, and we are carrying their stories. So I'll pass it back on to you, Vivian, and give my brother a chance a little.
Yeah, thank you, Dauda, for sharing that experience, especially the insight of a refugee. I'd like to pass it on to Ali. But as Ali, as you share your experience, would you also kindly tell us share some of the success stories that you've had with the WelcomeCorps program, and what the challenges are, and how you've managed to overcome them?
Thanks, Vivian. As you said, the program was launched last year. We had some discussion around the program. I had the chance to meet with Bassam in person twice in Portugal, Lisbon, around the sponsorship program. They had the conference there. We meet again in Geneva, and every time we met, already discussing about how we can bring that in Indiana. So I took time first to learn through those programs because it is a chance to learn from Canada, Australia, where this program is really successful. And that helped me when I came back here with our organization. We decided to start working as some say a PSO, private sponsorship organization. So first, I want to highlight what we do at PSO. As PSO, we recruit PSD. A PSD are those local 5 people we call as PSDs. So our role is to recruit them because there is people outside there willing to help us. They don't know where to go. So with those kind of people are here today, they don't need to worry. There is PSO all the countries. They can look around the map to find which organization can help them in their state. That's what I've been doing. We recruit people. We do info session. We explain people about the program. And also, our role also will be also monitoring. Our program organization have developed a lot of tools to help those people who never work for refugee, because a lot of they're just learning who is refugee. So what we are doing as PSO, we have tools in terms of resources. If you need to go like for job seeking, we just put a manual. We got that job assessment. We can refer you for job, any kind of job available in Indiana. So we are meeting with partners, companies like Amazon, Walmart, to tell them that those people, they come here after 3 months, they really need to get a job. So that things we've been doing. So in terms of success stories, since the program was launched, we become officially a PSO since last year. Patchogue become officially a PSO since February, sorry. And since then, we had thousands of meetings with diaspora in Indianapolis. Not only diaspora, because our thought, this program is for the community. The program is built for the community. What we are doing is to meet with everyone living here in Indianapolis, from schools, churches, mosque. So we did a lot of meetings. We did also personal info around the coffee at Starbucks. So this is now, since we started this program, we have seen a lot of change. We have already helped thousands of people to fill out their application, because that's also something we are doing also. We are not only recruiting, but we are helping people with the application process. With some people who say we don't know, we have in office someone who can help them to fill out the application. So the program also, we had for the first time in Indiana a road show. We visited around 4 cities: Muncie, Bloomington, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne. It was a success story, and everyone now is about to support. Everyone is willing to support the refugee. And the other side also, I've seen since I've been in Indiana, how now the Congolese community and the diaspora are now involving, especially for the matching. The matching was launched for the first time last year as a fund. I've seen now around my community people willing to support, which I never seen. So for myself, I will say that this program, comparative traditional, this is the best way. Even if there is a change in terms of government, in terms of who is going to take the lead of the White House, this will be for me a secure program, because it doesn't require the money from the federal government. This is a program that we are supporting. This is a program which is going to change the narrative. People used to say, hey, those guys, they come, we don't know where they come. Now, it is our community. We are supporting them ourselves. We are changing the narrative from they to we are supporting people. That's the way I love to really work really hard and to bring more people on this program. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Ali, for sharing that experience of how we can stand up and get engaged as a diaspora. We have a critical role to play, but in the interest of time, we can ask some more questions about your experience later. I'd like to pass it on to Basma.
Vivian, do you have a specific question you want me to answer, or?
I think we were just talking about how the grassroots perspective on community mobilization and how local communities and local organizations can actually leverage WelcomeCorps to support refugees through community hub sponsorship.
Yes, thank you so much, Nika. And I think for I think the examples Ali shared and Dauda, and I'm happy actually. My background is grassroots organizing and advocacy, and I thrive in having one-on-one conversations, and find way for people really to find their role in WelcomeCorps. So I am happy actually to have one-on-ones conversation with anyone here who interested to really find themselves a role within the work. I think one thing to uplift, Vivian was on a call last week. Vivian already is a host for and a producer for a show, and she already said, "Well, I want to host a Welcome Core conversation." NECA is part of a great community, and NECA already said, "I want to host an info session about it." Ali going back to Indiana and finding a way to find fund to support Patchwork Indie to become a private sponsor organization. So as I said in the beginning, there is a way for us to really find a role for you to play if you are interested in contributing to expanding our really resettlement and welcoming work in the United States. And we will be happy to discuss how we can make that work. For me, grassroots organizing and is really thriving by having these one-on-one conversation and finding way really clear way on next steps. And after that, if info sessions is helpful for your own communities, we will be able to help you set an info session like the one we are having today, in person or virtual. If your organization want to actually mobilize and you need to be equipped to speak the language and to go out to the community, and you need a specific language that it could be really modified for specific faith groups or specific community members, we will be happy to work with you on making that happen. We are here really to support you in any way that you feel it's best could mobilize your community to, one, be inspired about the program, to be informed by learning about what it takes to become sponsor or supporting the WelcomeCorps program, and to really hit the last, which is really convert. So if we are doing our work in inspiring people by creating these personal connection and stories and informing them about what it takes to sponsor, then hopefully they can decide and commit to convert that action to really an application in the system. I don't know, maybe Jen already shared it, or NECA in the beginning of the call. We have over 90,000 Americans stepped in to say, I want to welcome through the WelcomeCorps just in a year and a half. I am not surprised, and I hope you are not, because we know our community is so generous and willing to welcome. So how we can really hit, I mean, my personal goal to hit the 100,000 really sponsors in the system, hopefully before the end of September. And we can make that happen, because that's itself is a statement to share, to Ali's point, that we Americans want to do this work. We want to continue to welcome refugees, and we really want more of you to take part of this movement of welcomers. So CSH at Community Sponsorship Hub, we are happy to support you. Ali is here. I'm volunteering always, Ali, to support also. And Dauda, who is a great friend and mobilizers in this space. So please count on us to support you in any way to get the word out through you, to make sure that we really get more welcomers and sponsors to welcome more refugees before of the end of this year. We have the commitment from the United States government. We have the bold innovation through the WelcomeCorps program, and we have the fund, which is, I think, these three all coming together before the end of August 31st. So I want really for you to take an action today and go back to your community and find your group of 4 and submit your application by August 31st. If you cannot make that deadline, no problem. We will continue to have fund, but not 100% of fund available, but we will continue to be innovative to find way to support you in this journey. But we have a great momentum by August 31st to submit more application, and I hope you can submit yours as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Basma. Thank you very much. Now I wanted to move on to Vivian. There's a lot of concern for healthcare and MPOX. Could you please talk more about the health concerns that some people might have in sponsoring refugees, especially during this time?
Absolutely, fantastic question, and what a perfect time to bring it up, because right now, in the news media, we've had a lot of MPOX conversations, and it's a genuine concern for, especially if you live in the United States and haven't lived in an environment that deals with these epidemics and pandemics over and over again. I mean, sub-Saharan Africa is hit with one pandemic after another, but at the end of the day, they come out on top, that consistently. But also, one thing I want to mention is that having gone through an immigration process to the United States, I'd just like to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. What I went through was some of the intense screenings, medical screenings, that in a way it was great because I got to learn more about my health than previously. So, then when it comes to refugees, from what we've learned of the journey of a refugee, there is where they originally lived, and then there are so many stops along the way before they finally come to the United States. So the epicenters of any outbreak are not necessarily where these refugees have been living. And that is something that I think is important to learn and understand. For example, if there were refugees from Congo, they might be in Uganda, from the process with that journey toward the United States, or they might be anywhere else, Rwanda, name it. And yes, we recognize that MPOX has been declared in Africa right now, but these in the refugee centers, there are also healthcare initiatives. Part of what I just did my master's at Harvard Medical School, and one of my projects was focused on refugees and how to understand how they can access health services. And one thing I learned is that there's so many nonprofits working with these refugee settlements to make sure that there are no disease outbreaks, they have access to healthcare, and they're working with refugee with international organizations, World Health Organization, World Refugee, the UN Refugee Organization. And of course, the United States is not going to let any disease come in here because of just how critical they look at health and other issues and security, because there is health security to also consider. So I would just argue that yes, there are these diseases and epidemics, but when it comes to refugees, I know that they are screened intensely, but it's also our responsibility when they come in, what I would like to add, to help protect them from diseases they'll find here. For example, we have seasonal diseases. When it's the spring, I know that it's right now, it's not, to teach them about Lyme disease, for example, so that they can avoid the ticks, because they don't know. So it is, as part of our responsibility as people who are going to welcome these refugees, it's important for us to understand some of the health challenges they might face when they get here because of the exposure to a different environment, and protect them from that by giving them some public health information about the environments. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Dada, who wants to share a couple of success stories.
Basma had a hand up first.
I just want to uplift and speaking on from my personal experience, but still, even I think it's now, even after COVID and pandemic, things even progressed even more in the health screening. But as refugee myself, and Dawuda and Ali, feel free to speak about your own experience. We actually, part of our vetting process is going through heavy medical screening ahead of traveling. So that's part of our screening as refugees. And after we enter the US, I mean, my parents were so good at giving me all of the vaccines I need in the world when I was a kid. But still, when I moved to the US, the first 12 months for me to get my green card, I needed to take, again, all of the different really vaccines ahead of getting my green card. Even if I refuse it, if I refuse it or not take it, I will not be able to gain my green card. So I just want to uplift that for the refugee program. There is a huge vetting process happening before traveling, and also the first year of health screening, but also vaccines until we get our green card. So just one uplifting it here as well, and adding to what Vivian said.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Basma. And now, Dada, you wanted to share some words of
Yeah.
wisdom on the experience.
Um, and Basma Church really on the vetting process because we are one of the most vetted coming here, and then take it back is the vetting, our experiences shape what we have today, and we give them back. And look how refugees are contributing. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this one success story here in Louisiana, we've built a system of welcoming, even in the deep red states. And we engage faith communities, businesses, local community, refugee leaders. And today, we are about to open the first refugee and immigrant welcome center in the state of Louisiana. And that's a big deal in the states. And then secondly, we're planning to take in the next step. We're not just coming and receiving refugee, but how can we work as setting the foundation to develop a refugee resettlement system here to increase that. And then the reason that inspired us to do that is one story that stays with me is that, say close to my heart, is that of a single mother, a refugee who arrived here in Baton Rouge with her young children, and one of them was a 5 years old girl, full of life, but already carrying the weight of trauma on her small shoulders. The family have spent years in a refugee camp after fleeing their war in their home country. The mother has gone through so much pain, but today, that hardship doesn't keep them back once they resettle here in Baton Rouge. Today, that young girl, now a brilliant lady, given back and is actively involved in helping new refugee and new immigrants settle here. And is also speaking to power to see how policies can be changed to become inclusive. This is just a testament of how so many refugees like Ali is doing in Indiana. Basma has done in Jacksonville, Florida, and now leading this program. Ineke and so many of us are doing that because when we want you to see us beyond our story, see us as someone that adds value to the table, and invite each one of you to become part of this journey through the WelcomeCorps program. That way you will able to extend a hands of friendship and a hands of welcome to new neighbor, because together we can help refugees find safety, hope, and the opportunity to rebuild their lives. So that's what I just wanted to add, that call to participate in this program. And like Basma mentioned, the fund is there, the training opportunity is there, and then you have a community that wanted to welcome. So let's join the boat. And this is something I'm committed to, and definitely to see how I can use the network, the African Immigrant Legislative Forum, through African communities together, and see how we can encourage other leaders to participate as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dada. And now we have it open for question and answer. We have already a few questions coming in that we're going to share with the folks. We are about 13 minutes from the end of our webinar, but we're going to try to get through as many as we possibly can. Some of them have already been answered via chat. I'm going to start with the first one, and anybody can take it. Is there a way or a form that I have to complete to expedite process for a family that I already know?
I can take this one. Sorry, it took me a minute to find the unmute. Great question. First, let me thank all the panelists for your amazing conversation. This is such a treat to be able to listen to these great speakers. Unfortunately, there's no way to expedite a specific family that you've already applied to sponsor. Once you have submitted your application to sponsor someone you know, the process can be quite lengthy because those refugees go through the entire U.S. refugee admissions program processing. As Vivian said, refugees are among the most vetted people that come to this country. And so the process can take quite a long time. So unfortunately, there's no way to expedite, but please rest assured that we are processing applications as quickly as we can. Basma mentioned we had 90,000 American, more than almost 100,000 to be honest. I think we're really, really close to that number. Americans who have submitted applications, and we're quite a small team. So we're processing it as quickly as we can, but it is going to take some time. Thanks.
Thank you for that. The next question is, what are some creative ways to fundraise? Can organizations outside of the WelcomeCorps help sponsor?
I'll jump in here. This is Maddie from the NSC. Yeah, we really encourage folks to work with potentially a GoFundMe if they would like to sort of increase their amount, as Bosman and Jen shared already. Currently, there's no requirement to raise money to sponsor a refugee family until the 31st of August. But should a family or folks in the US want to sort of raise more money, that's definitely a possibility. A GoFundMe is a great way. There's lots of tips that PRM, the State Department, would be happy to share. And a lot of those are shared on those weekly sessions. They meet Wednesday nights at 7:30. Tips for fundraising, all kinds of tips for submitting an application. But that's a great question, and there's lots of tools that we'd be happy to share.
Thank you, Maddie. Thank you for that. The next question, we have someone from Eritrea living in South Africa, but we're having trouble getting 5 sponsors in the same region. Do sponsors have to live in the same vicinity? Can sponsors live in a different region or geographical area?
Happy to answer that. Yes, we have been built on the policy of the WelcomeCorps from all of the learning of the different sponsorship program that have existed in the United States, from the Sponsor Circle program for Afghans, Uniting for Ukraine, and the sponsorship for Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelans. And one of the best practices we have seen is creating the community of support for the refugee or the refugee family. And that requires at least 5 individuals to come together and commit to support the family. So if one or two, life happens, if one of two got distracted or needed to take care of other family business, then in this case, the refugee family is not left alone. Actually, we have a group in New York is comprised of 20 people. So it's really a way for us to make sure that the refugee is not left alone through their journey of really resettlement and integration. So in short, the group need to be at least 5 and reside within the same city to make sure that the refugee family is not left alone.
Thank you. We have one more question, actually 2 more, one from Houston, from Marla. Does the program include internally displaced people, or is it only the ones outside of their original country?
That's a great question, Marlo. Sorry, Bosman. That's a great question. So the program is for refugees, and that's because it's part of the U.S. refugee admissions program. And one of the criteria to be admitted to the United States as a refugee is that you have been displaced from your home country. So we do ask that refugees, sponsors can be matched with refugees that have been referred by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, or if they're identifying a specific refugee they know, we require a proof of registration as a refugee. So great question. Thank you. And then
Okay.
I can, Nika, if I can, we've gotten a lot of questions about Uganda in the chat.
Yes.
I tried
Yeah, I was
to
going to
be
mention
answering
that.
them. Yeah, but I'll just take a second to do this now. So as many of you seem to know, we have had a ton of interest in the program, specifically for cases for refugees who are located in Uganda. We've received more applications for those refugees than any other country. So it's been a considerable number. So given that level of interest, we implemented a temporary pause for new sponsorship applications for Uganda-based refugees for the WelcomeCorps to give our team time to review and process the high volume of existing applications. It is not a pause on applications for any refugees in Uganda. If the refugees already have a UNHCR case number, a US refugee admissions case number, sponsors can still apply to refer them. Sponsors can still be matched with refugees from Uganda. It is a pause on new applications for refugees you already know in Uganda. So applications that were already submitted were not affected by the pause. They are still under review. I'm seeing a couple of comments that people have been told their applications are not under review. I am sorry if someone told you that. I don't believe that's true. I will follow up with the WelcomeCorps team to make sure that there isn't miscommunication there, because I know that's very frustrating. Each case, though, is unique and takes time to review, and the time it takes to review will vary. I know that it's frustrating to have submitted the application and done all the hard work and still be waiting, but please rest assured that we are still reviewing applications with the goal of approving as many as we can, as many as that meet all the requirements. So when we're ready to announce any change in our ability to accept new applications for Uganda, we will put it on our website, we'll send it in our newsletter, we'll make sure that Nika and others are able to share the message as quickly as possible. But right now, we don't have any further information to share. We've also seen a couple of questions in the chat about specific cases, and unfortunately, I can't answer case-specific questions in a forum like this. You're welcome to make a appointment to do the one-on-one WelcomeCorps info to ask about your specific case. But I just want to stress that it's not something in particular about that. So hopefully that clears it up. Sorry,
Thank
you
you.
asked me another question in the chat, but I'm having trouble reading.
Thank you
Maybe
so
can
much.
ask it verbally.
We have just 2 more questions, and then we're going to have to wrap it up due to time. What other countries that refugees enrolled in the program are waiting for sponsorship? And the other question is in regards to helping sponsor folks that are coming through the border, especially Sudanese folks. But I mean, I believe they're asylum seekers, and so that's the difference between refugees and folks at the southern border, because they're classified as asylum seekers. But I let the experts from the government agencies to explain us a little bit better.
Yeah, I can start maybe, and Bosman, you can add if I missed something. Yeah, so asylum folks that come across the border are asylum seekers, and so they're not eligible for the WelcomeCorps. As we said, it's a program for refugees, and so that means you're outside your home country, but you're not in the United States yet. That's the definition of a refugee under U.S. law. So unfortunately, folks coming across the border are not eligible for the program. In terms of what other countries are refugees waiting for a sponsor, they're from all over the world. I think, I'm sorry if it was Nika or Maddie who mentioned at the top, we have more than 45,000 refugees on the African continent who are waiting to come. That's from all over the continent. The U.S. Refugee Admissions Program is a worldwide program. We also have another 55,000 in other countries. So refugees all around the world really need your help. And where we really feel the call to action now, as has been mentioned several times, by August 31st, you sign up to sponsor a refugee you don't know. It's to help those refugees that don't know someone in the United States and maybe don't already have those connections. So maybe you can step up and be their sponsor. I see Bosman's finger up. There's one question in the chat about WelcomeCorps with phases. We had phases 1 and 2. We don't have a phase 3. So no phase 3. So I just wanted to say that. Bosman, over to you.
I think just really uplifting that what's really also unique about the program, if you are sponsoring someone you don't know, but you have really interest in a specific nationality of the refugee or a specific language, you can reference that in the application. So you can reference that a specific nationality that you yourself have connection with, or a specific language that you prefer the refugee family speak, because you have within your sponsor group a family who speak that language. So an example, if your community connected very well with the Congolese community, then in this case, you can reference, I want to sponsor someone I don't know, but I reference that the nationality could be a Congolese refugee or an Afghan refugee. And in this case, that we could get better in matching you with the right family, that you could be really better supporting them from a culture perspective or from a language support as well. So you can reference the nationality in your application.
Just one last little bit, and then Nika, sorry to intervene over to you. I know that there are, that the number of refugees of a particular nationality overseas can really be sort of a call to action, a rallying statistic. So we did just want to highlight, that there are almost 30,000 individuals in the DRC, Congolese individuals who are waiting for resettlement, who are fully approved, and folks as well, refugees approved as well from South Sudan, Central African Republic, Eritrea, other countries as well on the African continent. So, like Basma and Jen said, pretty much refugees are accepted from any country in the world, but there are significant numbers in Africa and particularly from the DRC. So we really appreciate everything that your communities are doing to welcome them, and sort of their particular expertise and sort of cultural awareness and sensitivities that you can bring to refugees coming from those backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. Well, I want to thank all of our speakers. I want to thank Dada for sharing his experience, Ali, Vivian, Basma, and Jen, and Maddie for joining us today, and all of you attendees for your participation. With your help, we can help resettle thousands of African refugees that have been fully vetted. We must support and welcome them. So please visit www.welcomecorps.us to receive more information and how you can welcome and sponsor more refugees to safety. And stay connected and involved. Please, we will be sending a follow-up email with all of our contacts, and also share follow-up resources and our fact sheets, State Department's fact sheets on WelcomeCorps. If for more information about African Public Affairs Committee, please visit www.afripac for our upcoming events and webinars. If you have any questions or concerns or things that you want to address, our email address is info@afripac.org. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We will be looking forward to seeing you at the next informational session. Once again, visit WelcomeCorps to get more information on how you can welcome and sponsor a refugee. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Nika.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nika.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.